Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Adrian Sprenger and I'm from Basel Area Business and Innovation, and today's topic is the Green Deal call in Horizon 2020. This webinar is hosted by the Economic Development Basel-Stadt, the Economic Development Basel-Landschaft and Basel Area Business and Innovation. We will start off the webinar by collecting a little bit of feedback from you to get a feeling for your familiarity with the topic. You should see a small survey now. 1 second. All right. And while you fill it in, I'll briefly explain the webinar function. You can see us by default, but we cannot see and hear you. If you would like to say something during the Q&A session, then you can raise your hand and we will unmute you. If you have any questions during the talks, please write them into the Q&A section down below on your screen. You can also upvote questions, and in the end of the webinar, we will answer the questions in order of appearance. With me today, co-hosting the webinar are Karin Sartorius and Robert Zoom, to whom I will give the word now. Karin? Oh, you are mute. I will share your slides. 1 second.
Thank you very much. Well, hello to everybody. My name is Karin Sartorius. I'm responsible for the branch Life Sciences within the Economic Development Department of Basel-Stadt. Together with me, is also Robert Zoom, and we will shortly give you an introduction on who we are. As you can see on the slide, the economic development of Basel-Stadt and the economic development of Basel-Land, we are independent development departments who are responsible for the business part of with the life science departments, and are responsible for the interactions with the local companies. And together we are supporting Basel area business and innovation together with the canton of Jura. So we have a overall, sorry, I'm losing the trains today. So we are working together. Perhaps you could please show me the next slide. Adrian, can you show me the next slide, please? Thank you very much. No, that's too much. Just one further back, please. Yes, exactly. Thank you. So the economic development of Basel-Land and Basel-Stadt are supporting the region to further expand and the life sciences companies and to support innovations. We have a contact point. We're supporting the residence companies. We have a look what their interests and needs are, and we're trying to look that they have very well framework conditions. We are the facilitator between the government and the business. We do company consultations, but we also do real estate support and industry events to learn what the industry's needs are and to help to support them to be successful in our country, in our city. We have different industry and support programs, mainly for the life sciences, logistics, trade, and for the finance departments. In Basel-Stadt, we also have a convention program. And no, sorry for the slides. Yes, please, thank you. And we have a convention program, so we are supporting all the conventions and congresses in the area of life sciences. Services and infrastructure that we are providing is also the Switzerland Innovation Park in Altwil, Basel-Stadt on the Novartis campus, and in Delémont, as well as the Technology Park Basel. The offices and labs are mainly for startups, and you can apply for both of those parks. Startup coaching by regional business parks also at Basel-Land. It's in Rheinach. We will have a look through Adrian what the functions of Basel Business and Innovations area is in a minute. They mainly have 3 accelerator programs that we are very proud of. The canton of Basel-Stadt also does area development. We have 3 main areas that we are building at the moment for our life science industries, but also for our other business branches. So at the Stücki Park, we are just at the moment, there are 4 new buildings in constructions. They will be completed in 2020 and 2023. There's a very big area, nice area around the Rosenthal Mitte. We have a lot of promising anchor companies at the moment. There is also where Syngenta is. The master plan is ready, and the utilization of existing buildings from now, new developments are from 2024. It's a really nice area. You see the picture on the right side, on the bottom of it. And we also have the Kleebeck Plus. This is a little bit more in the long run. We have a transformation project with 30 hectares of plot size. We have a master plan in development, and the utilization of existing buildings are starting from right now. So it's really interesting on the different areas within the Basel-Stadt, but we also have areas in Basel-Land. Robert?
Thank you, Karin, for the nice introduction. Welcome everyone also from the side of Canton Basel-Land, from the economic development. We are collaborating very closely, as Karin said, with Basel area, together to promote this area and region. And especially for startups and companies, we have also in Basel-Land special areas. So one is in Allschwil, where you have a great area where several world-renowned companies are located already, and we are there just co-developing this grid project, which is a new building where there will be the Switzerland Innovation Park be hosted in 1 year from now on. This building is already built and is now fitted so that we can move in there starting in 1 year or so. Then what is already existing is a special chemistry and pharmaceutical park. This is called the GTech Parks.Swiss in Muttenz. There are 51 hectare size for everything which needs the production, or which fulfills the production needs for chemical industry and pharmaceutical industry. We have a very close infrastructure there. You can transport big tons of materials from the Rhine, through the Rhine River, or through railway or autobahn. What is very interesting also for startups is the 5th floor in Muttenz, which is just located next to the Fachhochschule, where there are a couple of thousand square meters for startup space available, and it's just started now. And there will be next week a presentation in collaboration with Startup Basel-Land, which will there host a roadshow in these labs. Maybe you check it out. Next slide, please, Adrian. Finally, I would just to draw your attention to our contact. So if there is anything where you are concerned with the governmental issue, or you have some issues with which is addressing our part, then don't hesitate to contact either for Canton Basel-Stadt Karin or for Basel-Land myself. Thank you for your attention, and looking forward to the next presentations.
Thanks, Robert. I will briefly also explain something about Basel Area Business and Innovation. 1 second. All right. So Basel Area Business and Innovation is the innovation and economic promotion of the cantons Basel-Stadt, Basel-Landschaft and Jura. And we particularly promote innovative startups and SMEs in our focus industries, namely biotech, digital health, and Industry 4.0. And in each of these fields, we run startup acceleration initiatives that support selected startups with money, office, and lab space, an intense educational workshop series, and expert advice. The expert advice comes in the form of an expert mentoring program, for which you are also eligible outside of the startup acceleration initiatives if your idea is high-tech and you come from the Basel area. In that case, we help you define your business case through rapid access to the right people. More on that on our webpage. I will briefly also post the links in the chat. Okay, I have to stop the presentation. Yes, chat. All right. And today's speakers are from Euresearch, Dr. Susanne Daniel, Dr. Matthew Wellens, and Dr. Judith Bingen. And just to mention it ahead of the talks, you will get the slides tomorrow by email. And with that, I hand over to Susanne.
Yes, many thanks, Adrian, for giving the word to me. My name is Susanne Daniel. I am the Euresearch company advisor for the region of Northwestern Switzerland. And as Adrian mentioned already, here with me today are my Euresearch colleagues, Judith Spinden and Matthew Wellens. They are both national contact points for the topic of the Green Deal, which, as you of course all know, is the topic of today's webinar. I would like to thank Adrian and Basel area, Karin Sartorius from Basel-Stadt and Robert Sohm from the Canton Basel-Land for having initiated this webinar and for having invited Euresearch to be a partner here today, and that we have got the opportunity to provide information about the Green Deal call in Horizon 2020. And we really hope that the information is of benefit for you in order to decide whether a participation is of relevance and to facilitate next steps which you are considering. So I will start with an introduction about the Euresearch network and let you know the basic principles about Horizon 2020. I will share my screen. I hope you can see it correctly. So the Euresearch network is a network to facilitate a high participation of a Swiss participation in the European framework programs, which is currently Horizon 2020, and by next year it will be the program Horizon Europe. The network is mandated by the SERI, which is the State Secretariat of Education, Research and Innovation, and all our services are free of charge. As you can see on the map, we have the regional offices all over Switzerland, and I am based here in Basel, and we have our network office in Bern, where our national contact points are. And national contact points, or NCPs as we call them, are the experts for the different scientific areas in Horizon 2020 or for specific instruments in Horizon 2020. And also Switzerland has a contact office for research, innovation and education in Brussels, which is called Swisscore. Yes, here today it's me as the company advisor, Judith Spinden. She is one of the Green Deal NCPs, as well as the expert for climate actions and environment. And Matthew Wellens, also one of the Green Deal NCPs, as well as industry and space. The services of Euresearch you can see on this slide. So we inform, we advise, and we connect. So for information, we provide newsletters, e-alerts, topic previews, etc. And we do a number of events, also co-hosted events like this webinar we are currently doing here. For advice, we give targeted advice to open calls and topics. We do idea checks. So that means we sit with you together, listen to your proposal ideas and try to guide you and to the best matching funding option. And we also help you to start the application process on administrative topics. And we connect. So this means we have some instruments which can help you to find partners for collaborative projects. And we have a close connection to the Enterprise Europe network. All these services are also provided for companies and for NGOs as well, for everyone in Switzerland. And we have also 2 national contact points, which are the experts for the specific SME funding instruments, in addition to the network of company advisors all over Switzerland. So you are free to choose your company advisor in your region if you have any questions. Now I give a very rough general overview about Horizon 2020, which is the running European Research and Innovation Program, with the overall idea to strengthen the European Union's economy and to face the societal challenges. And this is in particular true for the Green Deal call we will hear about in a few seconds. And one idea is also to boost for new jobs, growth and investment with these innovation programs. Horizon 2020 started already in 2014 and will come to an end in December, with the exception of the Green Deal call deadline, which is on January 26, 2021. And because the Green Deal calls are part of Horizon 2020, there is no doubt about the eligibility of Swiss legal entities. So Switzerland is fully associated to the program and to the Green Deal topics. In Horizon 2020, we have 2 call principles. The one is the top-down programs, top-down principle, which means the European Commission has identified the challenges, and these topics normally need a consortium for an application. So we call them the collaborative projects, which means you cannot apply alone. You need partners and apply jointly. And this is also true for the Green Deal call. Also, we have bottom-up programs. This is not the topic of today's webinar, but I think it's important to know that in these programs you have the free choice of topics, and we have career funding options, as well as the EIC programs, which EIC stands for European Innovation Council, which are to some extent programs specific also for SMEs, but not only for SMEs. It is important to understand that the funding which you might receive through Horizon 2020 is a direct funding which really goes to your account, and then you have to use the money for the tasks you have applied for in your accepted proposal. The funding is either 100 or 70%. It is also important to be aware of the so-called requested technology readiness level. The TRL, as we call them, is an estimation of the maturity of your technology or for your product. It is a scala from 1 to 9, and it is an indicator to better position the requested projects in Horizon 2020 to the work program. And as I mentioned before, for the Green Deal topics, you need a consortium with several partners from different European countries or associated countries. On this slide, you really see in a very quick overview the necessary steps you need to do if you would like to participate. So you have to find the right open topic, matching your ideas. Of course, you have to read all available documents very carefully. Then you have to build a consortium, a group of partners writing the proposal together. And you have to find a coordinator which really guides the whole process as well in case the project will be funded. You write the proposal, then that's number 4 here. You apply online in time. Every open call has a very dedicated deadline. Then you wait for the evaluation results. This can take a few months. And if it is a positive result, you have to sign the necessary contracts, and then you can start the project and await the first pre-financing. After the project start, there are some reporting duties. There is a scientific reporting to do, as well as a financial reporting. It is important to know that you can contact research at every time in this procedure for all kind of questions you might have. And this is my last slide. I would really like to encourage you to register to our e-alerts. We have them for events, for calls, for different news, and you have the possibility to profile your e-alerts, so you can target them to your fields of interest. So thank you very much. With this, I give the word back, or I give the word, not back, but I give the word to Judith. And the Q&A we will do then after all Euresearch presentations.
A very warm welcome from the side of the NCPs as well, and many thanks to the organizers for giving us the opportunity today to introduce the Green Deal call to you. Now, before we actually go into details of the actual call, we think it's imperative that you understand where this comes from, so that you understand a little bit what the Green Deal policy, the European Green Deal policy is, because that's much broader and has much more impacts than the actual call, of course. So the European Green Deal is the first one of 6 policy priorities of the von der Leyen Commission. So of the Commission that took office very late last year. And the bold aim of this policy is already there on the slide, namely it's striving for Europe to be the first climate neutral continent. Concretely, the ambition is to strive for climate neutrality by 2050. Now, the Green Deal is not communicated as the new climate policy or as the new environmental policy, but no, it's communicated as the new European growth strategy. And the ambition is to implement it in a way as to leave no one behind, so to deliver it in a just social transition. The Green Deal policy is also tightly linked to the new EC and economic policy, with the buzzword of competitive sustainability and not just growth for growth's sake. The European Green Deal is structured into 8 different areas that you see on this slide in the green boxes. It ranges from transport, buildings, agriculture, biodiversity, toxic-free environment, etc. So it's a whole breadth of different policies that is included in the Green Deal. The European Commission, in its first communication, already mentioned that they see research in innovation as key in delivering the Green Deal objectives. And as one of the very first actions in this direction, the Commission has launched just a couple of weeks ago a new call under Horizon 2020 that is fully dedicated to selected priorities of the Green Deal policy, so the Green Deal call. It has a substantial budget of nearly €1 billion. As I mentioned, this call is still running under the current framework program, Horizon 2020. So the rules, etc., are the same as we know it. Yeah, Switzerland is fully associated. But of course, the Green Deal policy will not only be at the heart of this particular call, but it will very heavily influence the call topics, the calls that will be included in the next EU framework program for research innovation, Horizon Europe, that Suzanne has already mentioned. And that's one reason why we're so particularly enthusiastic about this call, because it's really the start of understanding, a new reasoning behind research and innovation topics that are defined by the European Commission. We also think it is particularly worthwhile to try to get included in a consortia to one of those calls that are open now, because this will really act, if you're included there in a network, you will be getting a reputation of working in this area, of being a reliable partner, and it will be a very good start for you for the topics to call in Horizon Europe. Now, the call runs under Horizon 2020, but it follows in part its own logic. The main aim, of course, is to demonstrate that yes, research and innovation can provide solutions for the Green Deal priorities. So the focus is very much on impact and visibility. Now, those of you familiar with Horizon 2020 might say, well, you know, impact is the buzzword for all of or most of Horizon 2020, so it's nothing particularly new. Of course, impact is also important for the rest of Horizon 2020, but with the Green Deal call, the ambition is to deliver concrete, tangible results within relatively short time frame, results that are visible not only to policymakers, but also to communities, in the end to the European citizens, to show that yes, the Green Deal policy is very ambitious, but it is achievable. And here we already made a good start. So they choose, the way they choose topic, you will see it when we introduce them, is also in a way to build upon areas where there is already quite a lot of research and innovation that can be upscaled, that can be replicated, and where really a tangible impact is visible, typically within the course of project of a duration of maybe 3, 4, or 5 years. Topics follow a so-called value chain-based approach, meaning that they follow a systemic approach. This is also not something fundamentally new, of course, but it is very important in this particular setting that you won't see topics that are only based on technological innovation. It's always a mixture also with social innovation, with innovation in business models, innovation in public administration, and so on and so forth. And again, the aim of a topic is never just, you know, a reduction in greenhouse gases, but it's also looking at the impacts of biodiversity of your solution, looking at social impacts of your solution, looking at the impacts on an economic system, and taking this all together. I think it concludes very nicely from that you will rarely have consortia composed of different academic groups together with industry who will successfully apply for topics, but you need those groups of the society that are in the end concerned with a certain issue on board in your projects. So with quite some topics, I would assume that you would actually need representatives of communities. You would need public administration organizations as partners in your consortia. So it won't be enough to say in your communication strategy, in your dissemination strategy, well, we'll tell them what our solution is, but you want to have those on board from the very first steps of planning your proposal. The buzzword there is, of course, transdisciplinarity, also something that is not completely new, but is really required very much to address this Green Deal call. Now, this is how the call is structured. The main part consists of 8 areas that correspond one-to-one to the priority areas of the Green Deal policy. And this is the part where tangible results are expected in relatively short time frame. This main part of the call is then complemented by 2 so-called horizontal areas on strengthening the knowledge base and empowering citizens for the transition. And there the pressure is not that much to deliver very concrete results that are implementable within that short time frame. Now, Susan already mentioned our system of national contact points. Because the call is so broad in terms of topics, it's not just Matthew and myself that will inform and consult on the topic, but quite likely if you tell us tomorrow or even today that you're interested in a particular topic, we will actually revert you to one of our NCP colleagues. You will also probably see it when you introduce the topic. Some of the topics are the ones that we personally are responsible, but some of them are those where we need to say with detailed questions, well, I will need to get back to my colleague for that particular question. This is not to tell you that we're not acting as a one-stop shop. You can always just approach Susan, Matthew, myself, and we will forward your question or your need for advice to our colleague. Now, before we go into explaining the contents of the call, the topic, I'd like to briefly reiterate what Susan said. This is a top-down call. So for each of the topic, now we just give you the title, you know, and a very few information on the content, but for each of the topics, you'll have a several page long description of what exactly is the issue at stake, what is the kind of solution that the European Commission expects, what is the expected impact actually, what roughly they think you would need as budget for a project to answer that call, and also the so-called type of action. And this is quite important. We consider that you check that very early on when you're interested in a topic, whether that's a research and innovation action, or a coordination and support action. Now, the names are quite self-explanatory. With research and innovation action, typically you have a mix of applied research activities together with innovation activities. With innovation actions, typically you have no or hardly any applied research in there, but it's really about piloting, about upscaling already existing knowledge and innovation. But this depends also from topic to topic. Often, as Susan mentioned, the so-called technology readiness levels are also indicated, which give you a further indication on where exactly you should start in actually implementing things. And then coordination and support action, as the name says, these are activities such as networking, different projects such as further dissemination, and so on. The call is composed of 20 projects, where 12 are innovation actions. And this again follows a little bit from this logic of, working on concrete results that are actually making a real world change very quickly after their start, that you have quite a lot of innovation actions, but also 8 research and innovation action topics and a few coordination and support actions. I'll start now with briefly introducing the call topic together with Matthew, of course, starting with area 1 on increasing climate ambition, cross-sectoral challenges. So in there you have 3 topics that cannot be assigned to any of the other concrete areas. So you cannot say, okay, this is only about, or this is principally about transport or about agriculture, about biodiversity, but it's really very broad topics with very different sectors and systems involved. The first one is on preventing and fighting extreme wildfires. There has been a huge amount of research and innovation invested already in Europe and of course beyond on fighting forest fires and fighting wildfires. And here it's really about scaling up what has already been worked on Europe and also nationally and worldwide to accelerate the shift to a more holistic fire management that integrates the different systems that are concerned. Applicants need to look at all phases of fire prevention. So, of preparedness, namely prevention, detection of response is of course central, but also post-fire restoration and adaptation. So, I don't have to say this will be quite large projects of maybe 15 to 20 million per project. It will be innovation actions. As I mentioned, there has been a whole range of research, applied research and innovation already on this subject. And here it's really about including those different results, including what we already know works, what doesn't work, maybe complementing it now and again with new innovations, but really bringing things together and aiming for a more holistic fire management. The second topic title reads on towards climate neutral and socially innovative cities, because of course cities are key drivers in terms of climate change, but also in a key position to stop climate change. There has already been also quite a lot of research and innovation on smart cities, on sustainable cities. And this topic is about developing a one-stop shop platform for cities to help them develop or improve their already existing climate action plan, provide them assistance on a technological level, but also on the level of how can they finance their climate action plans, on regulatory issues, and also again, not leaving society apart, and also how to transit to climate neutrality without leaving parts of the city population behind. And this platform will probably be launched by already existing platforms, by already existing associations of cities, like, for example, the European Covenant of Mayors Initiative for Climate and Environment. They will certainly be instrumental, and others. Quite interestingly, the ambition or the request is that once this platform is established, that the consortium who runs the platform needs to launch competitive calls for cities. There's funding available for about 20 to 30 cities, front-runner cities, who will then test this platform, pilot it, and help to further adapt the platform. But cities who are interested in this, they cannot apply now on the 26th of January to this, but they will just need to very carefully watch the project that will be funded from the proposals that are submitted in January, and then apply to their call once it's been launched. This project has a huge budget of 53 million, but about 60% goes to this competitive calls to the topics, to the cities. Now, the third topic in this area is on innovation packages for the regions. Here, the observation is, of course, that many regions, especially the ones who are most hardly hit by the impacts of climate change, will hardly be able to adapt with just incremental means, but they really need some kind of how do you say, systemic, some quite radical changes to be able to adapt to climate change that is happening anyway, no matter how quickly now we move to climate neutrality. So here the focus is on regions and communities which are very highly exposed to the impact of climate change, and also those who have shown the least adaptive capacity. Again, this is an innovation action because a lot of best practices, a lot of experience is already around, but it's also about upscaling. It's also about networking different regions in Europe who have maybe several problems. You know, regions that, for example, their agriculture is very heavily impacted by the impacts of climate change, so that they can get together and look for upscale their solution, look for more transformative ways of adapting to the new normal. Now, with this, I will hand over to Matthew, who will continue with explaining from area 2 onwards.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can see my slides. Everybody can see the slides? Good. So I continue with area 2, which is clean, affordable, and secure energy. So this is an area which is composed of 3 topics, which I will go now one by one. So the first one is about offshore renewable energy technologies and their integration into the energy system. It's actually composed of 2 subtopics, and the applicant has to choose one or the other one. The first one about land-based renewable energy technologies and their integration into the energy system focuses on district heating and cooling and cogeneration of heat and power, CHP. And as you can see from the budget allocation, it's a rather smaller, let's say, slice of the budget compared to the second subtopic, with 18 million euros overall budget and 3 to 6 million per project. It's also a research and innovation action, as Judith mentioned. This means that it is expected to be a little bit more towards the research rather than towards the actual application, and the TRL target is 4 to 5 at the end. The subtopic 2 is about offshore renewable energy. This was actually the initial intent of this particular topic, and you can see that from the budget it's significantly bigger, with 68 million euros and 20 to 35 million euro per project. This is about, again, using offshore renewable technologies, wind, solar, wave, and or tidal resources, as much as about the integration of these new renewable energies. Now, what I tried to do in this slide is also to put a little cloud here. This is intended as a kind of SME cloud. How could an SME contribute to this apparently very large kind of initiative? Here I picked smart grid technologies. There's also an example of a past project where also SMEs participated and contributed. This is not expected to be, let's say, an exhaustive suggestion, just an example of what kind of contribution a smaller company could give. Okay, so the second topic in this area is about electrolyzers. So it's to develop and demonstrate a 100 megawatt electrolyzer. So this is a very specific kind of topic. As it says, it's about developing and deploying such a device. At the moment, so the biggest project that has been developed in terms of electrolyzers is in the range of 20 megawatts, and this is really a big step to go to 100 megawatts. And the purpose, of course, is to pave the way towards a future hydrogen, let's say, economy. The system should provide grid balancing services as well as supplying renewable hydrogen to a commercial industrial application, for example, a chemical company. There's a number also of technical requirements which are listed in the topic, and this, of course, should be checked. And it's a 5-year duration, of which at least 2 years of operation. So we're really talking of a deployment of a product that has to work and has to prove its functionality. It's an innovation action with a special funding rate in this case. So this is a little bit different from all the other actions we mentioned. Only 50% of the project costs will be reimbursed. Overall budget 60 million euros with about 25 to 30 million euros per project. So that's expected that 2 projects will be funded. And the end TRL is expected to be quite high, around 8. This is another one of these projects where a small company may ask, how can I play a role here? There was an example of actually an electrolyzer development project called Gamer, where it was an SME that took over the component manufacturing and assembly for the of all the cells in the electrolyzer. So this is a good example for this. Okay, then the third and last topic in the energy is about partnership with Africa. Of course, there's a long history of collaboration between the European Union and Africa, and this is one step of it. And this is really about rolling out green energy, renewable energy in the African social, economic, and environmental context. Solutions here may address renewable energy sources, but also their integration, as well as energy efficiency. And of course, all solutions, as I said, must fit within the particular African, let's say, ecosystem. There's a lot of other initiatives that have gone in this direction in the past, and these should, of course, be taken into consideration for this project. It's an innovation action with 40 million euro overall budget and with 5 to 10 million euros allocated for each project. And of course, being an African-focused topic, at least there has to be a big participation from the African countries, and in this particular case, at least 2 partners need to be, let's say, from Africa. Again, how can a small company contribute here? There's plenty of opportunity, for example, how to plan a microgrid. You know, often in Africa, we're not talking about a very highly integrated electricity grid, but rather smaller entities. So how can this be designed? And also about smaller renewable energy units, for example. So this is definitely at something that smaller companies could also contribute to. Okay, now leaving the energy topic, we switch to area 3, which is industry for a clean and circular economy, with 2 topics in there. The first one is about closing the industrial carbon cycle to combat climate change. Industrial feasibility of catalytic routes for sustainable alternative to fossil resources. This is a very, very complex topic, I would say. It refers to the heavy industry, and its target is to convert CO2 from industry and energy sectors into fuels and or chemicals, using renewable energy-driven processes and new innovative catalytic systems. Again, the TRL here expected is very high towards the end. The purpose here is actually to build a pilot plant by 2026 with a minimum output capacity of 4,000 tons per annum of chemical product. So here we're really talking about building a plant. That has to be the final target. Even the text specifies there should be a decision point when all the permits have been, let's say, achieved. So it's really a huge even construction project. The budget is also very big, as you can see. This may seem a little bit less reachable for smaller companies, but still, for example, a sustainability consultancy could give a really good contribution here in assessing the whole project and seeing really the overall benefit from an environmental point of view. On this particular topic, I want to give also an example. This is, there's a company, an Icelandic company called Carbon Recycling International, and they actually have carried out a couple of such plant projects. And one specific one, which is the one you see on the left, is a plant of the size, exactly of the size that is required by this topic text. And there has been a lot of collaboration of this company with the European Union. So I think this is a good place to have a look at if you're interested in this kind of topic. I have to put a note here. This particular plant was producing methanol. As a result, the Commission has made it quite specific in one of their information sessions that they don't want to look at methanol anymore because it's been covered by many, many projects. So, you know, look at everything but methanol. The second topic in the industry area is about the demonstration of systemic solutions for the territorial deployment of the circular economy. This is a much wider kind of topic, covering many more different areas of the economy. And its target is to implement and demonstrate circular systemic solutions for the territorial deployment of the circular economy in one circular territorial cluster. So what does this mean? Very complicated European Commission language here. First of all, they want a circular economy solution. It has to be systemic in the sense that they don't want a kind of silo thinking approach. They want all the necessary players to be considered. So it must not be only one particular sector of the economy. Well, it can be one particular sector, but all the players that have some kind of interest or are stakeholders in this sector need to be involved, including, for example, the citizens, including local governments and so on. And important for this, it has to be a deployment in one circular territorial cluster. This, to put it simple, could be, as I said, a sector of the economy, for example, waste, but not only, in one particular region of Europe. It doesn't need to be in one country only. It can be a, you know, an area where that particular sector of the economy is relevant. Also, another requirement is we have to look beyond waste and water sectors, which have been the traditionally almost synonyms for circular economy, but we really have to look at many other different parts, textile industry, electronics. There's a big list in the topic that you can look at. And very important, the solution has to be replicable and scalable, because what the Commission wants to do here is to collect a number of different options of these projects that can then easier than be rolled out to the rest of Europe. So it has to be something that will work not only in one region, but potentially in many other parts of Europe. How can a small company contribute here? By actually coming up with sustainable products or sustainable ideas, new kind of processes, and even potentially sustainability consultancy. Also companies that maybe look at the whole cradle to grave, let's say, assessment of a project. Okay, so we now proceed to area 4, which is energy and resource efficient buildings, with only one topic. This one is an innovation action with an overall budget of 60 million euros and a budget per project between 10 and 20 million euros. Again, the target readiness level, technology readiness level at the end is pretty high, between 7 and 8. So one can already think this means we have to have a deployment, we have to have a real implementation at the end. And this is actually what they want. The target here is that the proposal should deliver at least what they call 2 energy positive neighborhoods. So real life living labs, demonstrations of either, let's say, residential or non-residential, either new or retrofitted building collection. So smaller than a city district, but larger than 1 or 2 buildings. These 2 examples have to be in different regions of Europe. and they must be implementing both technology and social innovations. There's a huge element of technology here, so I think there is a really big scope for smaller companies as well, but there's also an element of social innovation. Potentially, these districts will be giving new opportunities for the people living there to live in a different way, to manage their energies, flows in a different way, maybe even to trade energy. And all this needs involvement and education and motivation of the people. That's what is meant by social innovation. Again, replicability and scalability is essential. The little cloud here tells me renewable energy technology is very important. Smart home technology is something which is very much also developed by smaller companies, and this definitely could have a role here. Okay, area 5 is about mobility. We have only one topic here, and this is about green airports and ports as multimodal hubs for sustainable and smart mobility. Target TRL here is mentioned in topic text is greater than 6. I would guess it's more like 7, even 8. Overall budget of 100 million euros and budget per project of 15 to 25 million euros. The target here is to perform large-scale, real-life, high technology readiness level demonstrations of green airports or green ports. So either one or the other. For airports, we need to cover, or the applicant needs to cover transport aspects, energy aspects, terminal, and even cross-cutting aspects. And for green ports, for example, things like logistics, energy efficiency, traffic management, multimodality. The idea here is to have one leading lighthouse airport or port, and 2 fellow airports. So we're really talking about airports being part of the consortium. That's vital. And again, here it's a very kind of wide scope. There's a lot of possibility of energy players, renewable energy, energy efficiency, logistics, planning, and digital, of course. Digital, of course, ends up being in many of these different topics, given, let's say, its importance these days. Okay, this now goes back to Judith.
Thank you, Matthew.
I will change the slides for you, yeah?
Yes, thank you. I will resume with area 6 on farm to fork, where also there is just one topic included. Next slide, please. So this topic is on testing and demonstrating systemic innovations in support of the farm to fork strategy. So this already says, refers in the title to a particular European Commission or European Union strategy, the farm to fork strategy. So that's a strategy on everything concerning agriculture and food production. And there has been a revised farm to fork strategy being published in May, I think, this year, under the European Green Deal policy. So it's very crucial for anybody who wants to apply to this topic to be very familiar with this so-called farm to fork strategy. Now, this topic is just one, but it's subdivided into 6 so-called sub topics. So a consortium would choose one of those subtopics, A to F, they're named here, and it really, the totality of those subtopics, as you see, really covers pretty much the main pillars of this farm to fork strategy. This is an innovation action, so again, it's not about creating new research on those type of issues surrounding agriculture and food production and consumption as well, but it's really building on already existing practices and innovations. There's certainly ample opportunity for industry. Industry needs to be on board, I guess, of many of those subtopics, including, of course, small and medium-sized enterprises. Next, please. Then we'll already move to area 7 on biodiversity and ecosystems. where there is just one topic here, again, on restoring biodiversity and ecosystem services. This is a large innovation action where it's about upscaling and replicating best practices of ecosystem restoration. There has been a lot of activities in the area of ecosystem restoration already through the framework program funding, but also through the LIFE program, which is the Europeans program of the European Environmental Agency. Excuse me. So it's really about upscaling those already existing solutions, accelerate a transformative change, and also address barriers to the implementation of systemic so-called nature-based solutions, which is also an area where the Commission has invested a lot throughout the past years. Next topic, please. Area 8, I think it's an area that is particular interest also to the life science industry, because it's all about chemicals in the environment, unwanted impacts on humans and the environments. There is 2 subtopics. They're both research and innovation actions with quite low TRL levels. So there it's really about also improving the knowledge base on those issues. Could you switch, please? The first topic is has a focus on persistent and mobile chemicals. The PFAS group of chemicals is mentioned in the topic. You would not necessarily need to base your research exactly on this group, but you certainly need to justify what kind of chemicals you focus and in how far your results are also probably applicable to other groups of such persistent and mobile chemicals. So it's really about improving the analysis tools that we have for analyzing the concentration of those chemicals in the environment, but also in humans and animals, modeling of their persistence, creating new knowledge on toxicities and remediation technologies. And with the second topic then, in area 1, the focus lies on combinations of chemicals and their impacts on the environment, but also human health. Again, it's a research and innovation action. It's much about creating evidence on those impacts of co-exposures, and ultimately also, as the title says, to help with improving regulation on such co-exposures. So that is for area 6 and 8. Then I guess, Matthew, I hand over to you again for area 9.
Yes. So I will talk about now the topics in area 9, which is the first of the, let's say, cross-cutting areas of the Green Deal call. There are 3 topics here. So the first one is about European research infrastructures capacities to address European Green Deal challenges. So there are 3 subtopics here. The first one is about supporting Europeans' leadership in clean energy storage technologies. The second is about research infrastructures for greenhouse gases observation in and around cities. And the last one is also about observation and measurements for air quality and citizens' health in urban areas. So you see the budget, the individual budget for the 3 subtopics, they add up to the overall budget. So one can expect that one project per subtopic will be selected. Now, research infrastructures are generally not really the first maybe idea that comes to mind for maybe an SME project. They are very big things. CERN, for instance, is a research infrastructure. They're huge facilities that provide services for researchers from all over Europe. But for the last 2 subtopics, for instance, there could be definitely an opportunity there for companies providing pollutants measurements and instrumentation expertise. So that's how one could, let's say, see an opportunity there. The second topic in this area is developing end user products and services for all stakeholders and citizens supporting climate adaptation and mitigation. complex title again. Target here is to inform citizens and decision makers about the impacts of climate change in the future. And to show what the future different pathways towards climate neutrality could mean in terms of consumption, production, lifestyle, and so on. So it's really about trying to digest a huge amount of information, a huge amount of data, analyze it, and try and use that information to forecast even the future and represent it, of course, in a simple way. So here, big opportunity for the digital, let's say, part of the economy. Big data has a big role here. And all the way when we say about visualization of the information, even, for example, app design, how could one make this information visual to the citizens in a very, let's say, user-friendly way. And on the same style, we go on the last topic of Area 9, which is transparent and accessible seas and oceans towards a digital twin of the ocean. So the target here is to integrate all the information we have related to seas and oceans, meaning data, models, observatories at sea, integrate them with digital technologies, so cloud, artificial intelligence, supercomputing capacities, data analytics, and create what is called a digital twin of the ocean. So a real-time description of the ocean that can be used also for future prediction. And this is an element, I mean, you see a lot of initiatives on digital twins. The Space Agency has recently initiated one on the digital twin of the Earth. Of course, this would be then part of it. But this is, again, about dealing with a huge amount of information, huge amount of data, and applying artificial intelligence. So this is really a big opportunity for the digital players. And now I hand it over to you, Judith, again, for the last area.
Yes, and Yen is covering this is the last three topics of the call that I will briefly introduce on the topic of empowering citizens for the transition. Now, this is all about gaining the support of citizens in those transitions, but not only to have them agreeing on the Green Deal policy and what and how far it affects them, but to really have them on board as active drivers, because in the end, it's the whole society that needs to transform, including, of course, the individual citizens. Can you move, please? The first topic is a research and innovation actions on better investigating the European capacities for citizen deliberation and participation. There it's about creating a network of expert and investigations on how and testing on how to create a feeling of ownership and engagement with the Green Deal priorities, so that they feel really it is also to the benefit of each of the citizens. Next topic, please. And then the second topic is on behavioral, social, and cultural change for the Green Deal. So looking into more detail on the behavioral change at individual and collective level, how that change can be accelerated, how that change can be influenced. Again, it's much about establishing a network of European experts and maybe beyond on those matters. There is also talk about experimental studies on topics that would be co-decided by the European Commission. And lastly, topic 3 has two subtopics. Has two subtopics. The first one with a focus on education to enable citizens to act on climate change themselves and sustainable development through education. And the second one to enable citizens so they can better monitor and assess their own environmental and climate footprint. This again is then an innovation action, because there's already quite a lot of understanding on this that needs to be further piloted and upscaled towards the aims of the Green Deal as well. So that was it for appetizers. On the contents of the call, we are aware this was a lot of information. I'm sure nobody was interested in in all the areas, in all the topics. So sorry, that part of it was boring for probably everybody of you, but maybe you know somebody who works or who is interested in a certain area where you can flag those Green Deal opportunities. Also, for those of you who already knew, well, I'm interested in areas such and such and topics such and such, we could only just give you some appetizers on the contents of those topics. So if you think, well, this one sounded interesting or another one sounded interesting, please do get in touch with us so that we can further inform you and we can help you to assess whether this is something you really want to follow on, or whether maybe it sounded good, but maybe it goes in a direction that still you're not that interested. So I hand over to Matthew for the clip.
Yeah, thank you, Judith. So I will now finish off with 2 slides. The first one is quite busy. The second, I promise, is much simpler. But this one is complicated because it tries to summarize a question and an issue which is really complex, which is, okay, there is maybe a topic which is interesting, but how do we find a consortium? How do we get to put this project team together? So the way we like to approach this, or to explain it, is like a puzzle, as you can see here. Starting from top left, that's the main or the first step you should take. Use your network. So see, maybe you've already participated in projects in a similar area, and you had partners already. So these partners probably have had other experiences already in other Horizon projects. So capitalize on this network and make the most of it. That's absolutely the first step that one should do. The second step, which is the top right one, which is much less exciting maybe, is to do a lot of homework on looking what projects and what organizations have been working in your area of interest. For this, there's a very good database, a huge database available, which is Cordis. This is the database of all Horizon 2020 projects, but also previous framework program projects. Can be searched according to country, according to kind of topic, according to call number, and so on. And this is a very good way to see, let's say, what kind of projects, how the projects were set up, and what organizations were the big players in certain areas. You often find that some organizations are very present in many different topics. They've managed to, let's say, get projects in different framework programs on the same area. And I think this is a very helpful way to understand better the background of that particular topic. Of course, it's not only Horizon 2020 and previous framework programs you may want to look at, but also cost projects. This is another European initiative. There may be cost projects or cost initiatives within that particular area you're interested in. So definitely have a look there and see what kind of organizations participated. Then we go to the bottom part of the puzzle, starting on the left, brokerage events. So these used to be live events in the past, in the pre-corona times, where people went and basically networked. It was done in a very structured way. People could book sessions, maybe 10 minutes, 15-minute sessions with different people. There were maybe pitching events as well, where companies could present themselves. Such an event was organized, of course, in an online version for the recently happened European Research and Innovation Days. As I said, lots of these, or most of these events now, if not all, have converted to an online version. And then you have partner search platforms. These are more ongoing efforts, databases or hosted on certain websites, where people can post their interest in a specific topic, either requesting or offering a certain competence. Enterprise Europe Network has such a platform. There is one now also in the funding and tender portal, where all the final texts of the Green Deal call are published. For each and every individual topic, there is a section showing organizations who are looking for certain competences or offering certain competences. So this is a very good place to look at. Now, about, in general, brokerage events and partner search platforms, because everything has gone online now, the division between the two, the conceptual division, is a little bit grayed out now. There are events, brokerage events that actually last for months, which are then maybe more similar to what you would call a partner search platform. But essentially, let's say the target is the same. We have compiled a list of these events and these platforms, which is available on our Green Deal webpage, which I will talk about in the next slide. So you can go there and see what's coming up in the next weeks in terms of these events. And then last but not least, the bottom right part of the puzzle is the NCPs. We also have networks of NCPs in Horizon 2020 for space, for industry. So we speak and we interact with our colleague NCPs from other countries. And so we will know from them maybe that there is a consortium in their country looking for a particular competence. And we sometimes, let's say, distribute that information and within Switzerland, for example. Regional offices of Euresearch can also help. And as Suzanne also mentioned, we have a specific service that you can subscribe for, which are the partner search e-alerts. Sometimes when we see an opportunity for a consortium, which is generally quite mature, quite well defined from another country, looking for a specific competence in Switzerland, then we will publish that as an e-alert, a partner search e-alert. So this gives you a little bit the overview of the options you have for building a consortium. It's a lot of work. One thing that is worth mentioning is don't be, let's say, afraid of wasting your energies on this. You know, it's definitely, the Green Deal will be a very competitive call because it's the last call of Horizon 2020. So lots of people will apply, but all the work you will do here in terms of, for example, understanding what is the background to your area and so on will not be wasted because, as Judith already mentioned, the topics and the general thematics of the Green Deal call will be taken over also to Horizon Europe. So you will find the same kind of areas, you will find the same kind of topics in Horizon Europe, and you will be able to use that work later on. And last, just an overview of our Euresearch Green Deal webpage. Please use it. The link is there. You will find there slides and recordings of the main Euresearch info events on the Green Deal. You will find links to the European Commission pages. You will find the topic preview of the Green Deal call that has been already distributed to you, but just in case you lose it. And also this compilation of partner searchers events and platforms that I already mentioned. We try to keep the web page up to date as much as possible, so please make use of it, and yeah, hopefully it's good for you. Okay, so that essentially finishes my presentation and Judith's presentation. So I hand over back to Adrian.
Yes.
For
so
questions.
Many thanks to Judith, Matthew, and Susanne for this in-depth explanation of the Green Deal call. And now we are open for questions. There is only one yet in the Q&A section. Someone is asking if 2 African organizations or 1 is required for the Energy in Africa call, Area 2.
Yeah, I think it's 2, and I think there is also a requirement on whether this is from one or from how many different African countries this has to be, but that should be quite clearly specified in the topic text. One important thing is if you don't find the information in the main text, always look at the section of the topic in the funding and tender portal, which talks about special conditions. That's a very important section of the topic text, and it includes all these details, generally a little bit better explained maybe than in the topic text. I hope that helps.
We just have another question from the Q&A. It's what is the typical success rate for EU and Swiss participants in Horizon 2020?
Judith, shall I start with that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult to say. So this will be a very popular a very popular call, as I said. It's the last Horizon 2020. It's called, so it's the last call of a 7-year framework program. So it will be rather busy, I expect. In general, if we look at historical data for collaborative projects, we have an average success rate of 10 to 15%. But I would expect that it will be harder for the Green Deal call, both for the amount of people that will apply and also for the huge complex size of the projects. So competitive, but again, don't let that put you down, because whatever you do now, you will find later as work done for Horizon Europe.
Thank you.
If I can just complement, those success rates look awfully low, but keep in mind that typically the Commission receives a lot of proposals that are very clearly not competitive. They do fulfill the formal eligibility criteria, which are very low, but they clearly do not match the topic text or the expectations. And that is partly because in many EU countries, national funding is very low and is nearly non-existent or has come down. So yes, it is competitive, but normally if you were correct for proposals which really don't have a chance to start with, the success rate would already look much better.
Thank you.
The next question is from Bernardo Correra. Can you support non-Swiss-based companies, and how do you foresee the rules for participation of Swiss-based companies in Horizon Europe? And I also gave Bernardo access to the microphone. So if you have further following questions, just start speaking.
Judith, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in terms of giving support to non-Swiss companies, the answer there would be probably no, right?
Yes, we're always happy to, to pass on a piece of information if somebody from abroad contacts us. But we're bound there to our subvention contract with the federal administration that we're here to support applicants based in Switzerland. But what we can also do, there is such support systems such as the system of NCPs existing in all the EU member states and associated countries, for example. And we're happy, for example, to provide contacts of our colleagues in the other countries.
Thank you.
Plus, maybe another point here. I heard that our topic previews, such as the one we sent today, of course, they are freely available on our websites, and they're very popular abroad as well. So, these things are there. They are. So, of course, there is a certain amount of our support which you cannot really divide by country. That's freely accessible. But if you're talking about bilateral support, which we offer as well, that's of course more restricted to Swiss participants. Horizon Europe, do you want to take that, Judith?
I'm happy to start off with an answer. There are 3 pillars. There were 3 pillars in Horizon, or are 3 pillars in Horizon 2020, and there will be the 3-pillar structure, which is kept also in the new framework program. The middle pillar is the one that we talk today. It's the one about solving societal issues where consortia apply to top-down defined topics. In this pillar, no matter what the association status of Switzerland is, all types of organizations will continue to be eligible to participate. If Switzerland does not get associated to Horizon Europe, organizations will not be eligible for EU funding, but the government has foreseen money reserved to fund them nationally, as we have seen it in 2014 to 2016. So Swiss companies, together with academics and all other types of organizations, will for sure be able to participate in those collaborative projects. Now, to apply for the so-called mono-beneficiary funding schemes, such as ERC grants, European Research Council grants, or for companies of particular interest, the grants of the European Innovation Council, it's a different story, because there only one organization typically applies, and to be eligible, you must be located in a member state or country associated to Horizon Europe. You probably also in the normal press that the relationship between the EU and Switzerland regarding the institutional agreement and the general way forward in the bilateral cooperation is not straightforward at this point of time. And although collaboration in research and innovation is not content-wise linked to the matters that are included, for example, in the institutional agreement, politically, we can say somehow research and innovation is being taken hostage by these developments. So a lot is dependent on politics at this stage. But what remains for sure is that in consortia project, Swiss organizations, including SMEs, including industry, will continue to be able to apply and get funding somehow.
In any case, Judith, could we also say that the latest updates one can always find on the website of SBFI, right? They have a dedicated section there on the website of the Sekretariat für Bildung, Forschung und Innovation, where they talk about all these questions about participation for Horizon Europe, and they are the main, I would say, point of contact for those kind of questions. Is that correct?
Yes, that's certainly for official information. Here again, what I said is how we see things today, but yeah, things evolve. And what can be said in public is on the website, as Matthew said, of the SERI, and we're always happy to give you an update on things that are maybe not publishable yet.
Thank you very much.
We have other questions. One question is from Ahmed Muderis. He would like to know what is the best way to quickly evaluate a project can fall within a topic area title. And he would also like to know if he did that evaluation, if a meeting with a Euresearch representative is possible to make that evaluation.
Shall I go, Judith, on this one?
Yes, fine.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the services we offer. This is, the first thing should be you see a topic text, you see that there is a certain overlap with what your company does or what your company would like to do. The next step, what we suggest, is always also to then read the topic text very well in detail, because they are quite, let's say, chunky pieces of reading to do. Often not very easy to understand, and I think that's worth doing because there are lots of conditions and preconditions there. Also, these special, let's say, conditions that I mentioned already earlier, make sure that you're eligible. And then we are definitely there also for bilateral. So if you want to then clarify further, let's say, what kind of role you could have, we are there for that as well. I don't know if you want to add something on that, Judith.
Thanks, Matthew. I think what also needs to be considered, when you read those topic texts, you might be a little intimidated because some of them go for pages and pages and pages. And there it's very crucial that you keep in mind, this is for a whole consortium to deliver all this. This is not for one organization to deliver all this. So you'll do this in conjunctions with your partners, and what we can definitely help you to see whether, a niche within all that is suitable to your expectations and to your expertise.
All right, next question. I lost track where we were, actually.
No problem. Elena has another question. Which actors besides industrial ones are needed for the farm to fork call? And for the same call, how many partners from Switzerland together with EU partners can apply?
Okay, I take this because I introduced the topic. I must say, however, it's our colleague Linda Münger, the food NCP, who is the expert. So I will not be able to give you a complete list of other actors that should be included in applications to topic 6, but I would think, at least for some of the topics, you actually need representatives of the farmers. So you need, farmer associations. With the topics where it's about, marketing food, you will certainly also need some retailer organizations, representative of retailer organizations. Where on the topic, on the part where it's about reducing food losses and food waste, again, you would probably need a couple or an association at least of retailers. You maybe also want, representatives of gastronomy, of restaurants, or so on board. But I would really need to go into detail on the particular subtopics, you know, to better guide you on what type of other organizations you would need on board for a particular subtopic to cover. But I hope this already gives you a little bit of an impression. Then on the question on how many partners from Switzerland you could have on board, there is no limitation there. You could have several partners from Switzerland in one consortium together with organizations from other countries. The minimal rule is very low. It just states that you need 3 different legal entities from 3 different EU member states or associated countries. So if you have a bunch of organizations from Switzerland, you would need at least 2 different organizations from 2 different other countries, being it member states or associated countries. Whether it makes sense to have a lot of partners from one country in a consortium is another story, of course. And again, this depends very much on the context. A lot of those Green Deal topics, they will require demonstration activities that are site-specific. So I think quite naturally, if you are to build a pilot plant somewhere, quite naturally, you will also have supply chain organizations that are from the same region, from the same country. So quite naturally, you'll have a kind of a skew in terms of country participation in such a consortium, and that would be totally accepted. If you have a project where it's not obvious that you put a focus in a certain country because it's more about research activities that you perform, evaluators will probably be a little more sensitive if they see a skew in the list of participants towards one or 2 countries. But you can certainly, in a big project, you can always have a couple of partners from one country. Of course, if they're relevant for the topic, if they're complementary in their expertise, in their access to information, to infrastructures, and so on and so forth. But it depends, again, really on the context, and we certainly cannot tell you, well, you can always have, you know, 3 from one country, and that's always fine, because it really depends on the topic, on your project, you know, and what the other consortium partners are. You can even, as an organization, be involved in several projects submitted to the same topic formally, and also in several, you know, in projects to several Green Deal core topics. There, it's then up to you how you handle that towards your consortium members. But from the side of the Commission, this is all formally possible.
Thank you very much.
There's another question in the chat by Jerome Aubrey from Comsit Push. Thanks for the good exposition of the Green Deal. We are today working on a relevant process that can be found applications on one smart mobility. How can we check that our development and project could be eligible for a Green Deal project?
Okay, I would go back to my previous answer. So first element is read the topic text properly, let's say, and one needs to think, as Judith said, the description of the topic is the description of the overall project. So you will be an element in a project that fits in this description. And very often the description is also very, very large. You know, some of the topics we saw today are very specific, like developing an electrolyzers. Some of them are very wide, like circular economy solution, can be anything. So, you know, you can be sometimes it has to fit very, very precisely. Sometimes you have a lot of freedom, but then again, you're only an element of that solution. So you need to think, okay, I could see myself here. Once you've done that exercise, and maybe that comes out with a couple of solutions, you know, you could say, I could see myself in such a project with such a role, or I could see myself in this other kind of project with this other role. Once you've done this exercise, then I think you can definitely contact us, and we can discuss the next steps. Another thing, I always say this very boring, unfortunately, homework of looking at past projects. You know, that's extremely useful because you see what kind of projects have been funded, and you find sometimes organizations that you would have never thought would have fitted in that topic, but they do, you know, at the end. So this really opens your mind.
Fantastic. I think we are through. This is the most timely program that I ever hosted. Okay, so let's wrap it up then.
Adrian, I thought I saw a question on what kind of bottom-up funding opportunities there were on the Green Deal. I'm sorry to disrupt your timeline. I can't see it anymore.
Please answer it.
But I just wanted to quickly say, by definition, the bottom-up funding schemes that Susan was briefly mentioning, they're bottom-up. So there will be no thematic priorities. So you can always, for the ERC and the Marie-Sklodowska reaction or an EIC proposal, you can always come up with something that is in line with the Green Deal policies. And you should, of course, stress that. And there also you have chapters on expected impact, and you should really create that link to the Green Deal. And that certainly won't be to your disadvantage, but because the bottom-up schemes are bottom-up, they won't be typically focused on the Green Deal. There are sometimes exceptions. For example, the EIC has seen a cutoff date in May where at least part of the budget was reserved for companies who were working on one of the Green Deal areas. But other than that, there is nothing particular to say, in my view, on bottom-up European funding related to the Green Deal. I hope that was at least quick.
Judith, do you want to mention the event on the 25th of November, which might be interesting to mention that?
Oh yes, we should. Please.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. For all of those of you who are now looking at the topic overview, identifying a topic that could be of interest, maybe starting to look out for a consortium to join, we are offering an event for those who are working on an application to the Green Deal call on the 25th of November. It's on our website. We can send you maybe the link and then you can distribute this information in the follow-up. We will not talk about the content of the call there, but about how to address the call topics. So thank you, Susan, for reminding us we should use this platform to promote that event.
And our webpage on the Green Deal, that's also, all the information will be there as well.
Great. So then we are right in time. Let's finish off. Robert, do you want to say the last words?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for participating. I do a little wrap up. So what did we learn with this appetizer for the Green Deal, I would say? The poll showed that most participants knew about Horizon 2020, but just a little about Euresearch, or did not cooperate at all so far with Euresearch. So we heard a lot details about the Euresearch network, and you will also see then in the slides the details. And please get in touch with Suzanne, Judith, or Matthew for the Green Deal or other NCPs in Switzerland, which you find suitable. We learned about the second thing is about details about the Green Deal and its objectives. We saw that there is a 1 billion budget, and this is used for a broad range of interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary projects. It is difficult to see where you can fit and what would be the eligibility for your project, and that's why these people are here. So you got a lot of tips how to proceed also from Matthew in this puzzle. I like this very much. And you see the know-how, what is provided by Euresearch people. Therefore, I wish you good luck with your project. Talk to the experts. And thank you for all the contributions and speakers. Stay healthy and goodbye.
Fantastic. Thanks also from me to Susanna, Matthew, and Judith. And you've seen the survey results. We will send them out with a wrap-up email tomorrow. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you also from my side.